Hello and welcome back, and that is right, it's time for another SSD comparison using this, the PS5. We're looking at the PS5 SSD expansion bay, you know, that port that's finally been made available publicly, that beta's over, everyone can take advantage of it, and a number of you who are looking at upgrading your PS5 storage are slightly thinking more about capacity than you are about performance. I get it. A lot of the time when you're upgrading the storage on these, you're going to be utilizing it for installing PS4 games. You're going to be using it for storing some video clips down the line when certain features become opened up to the SSD storage. And you're not really going to be utilizing a lot of PS5 performance from it. You're going to be utilizing a lot of legacy stuff on there, and therefore, as much as, you know, these high performance 7,000, megabytes per second SSDs are, really impressive, you're thinking, yeah, I don't really need that. What I'm going to go for is the next tier down, because since these 7,000 megabytes per second and higher SSDs, like your WD Blacks, your Samsung 980s, your Firecuda 530s, have arrived on the scene, the tier underneath, the ones that take advantage of between 5,000 to 5,500 megabytes per second, these SSDs have become exceptionally affordable. And therefore, when you're looking at buying an SSD and you're looking at, the 2 TB of the super fast tier, the price of that is getting closer and closer to 4 terabytes of the 5 to 5,500 megabytes per second SSD. And therefore, you are thinking, one, are those SSDs going to do the job? And two, there's a lot of those to choose from, and that's where today's video lives in this exceptionally long introduction. So today we are looking at 4 SSDs, all of which are sort of on the cusp of PlayStation support. As though you're not aware, Sony recommend, if you're going to install an M.2 NVMe SSD inside this system, so you install one that has a rating of sequential read of higher than 5,500 megabytes per second. Now, in all but one case, the SSDs today are under that rating. Now, these are very close to that mark, and consequently, that price has dropped on a number of these, and you can really pick them up right now for a decent little price. I'm, of course, talking about these 4 SSDs, the PNY XLR8 CS3040, very important. This is not the 3140, that is in the higher tier bracket there. I'm talking about the crucial P5 Plus, another SSD that's going very reasonably right now with its own in-house controller in use. I'm talking about the Rocket PCIe 4, so not the Rocket 4 Plus, the tier underneath it that utilises the Firezone E16 controller, and finally the Firecuda 520. There you go, I knew I had one over here. So these are the 4 SSDs we are looking at. SSDs with ratings of between 5,000 and 5,500, or in the case of the crucial 5,600 megabytes per second. The ones that, once again, live on the cusp of the recommended performance threshold. We're going to look at how they compare. We're going to look at the load times of a big old bundle of games. We're going to put them all on screen, 4 on the screen. Look at how they compare, see which one loads first, and at the end of the video we're going to break it down into frame-by-frame analysis where we can see which one loaded faster. In some cases, the one that loaded quickest will be incredibly obvious. In other cases, not quite as obvious, so it's worth looking at that. So for now, let's crack on with comparing these SSDs inside this PS5 and break down into the results. Right, so we're going into our first game, Borderlands 3. It's the full game load test. This is going from the title screen and into it. Right, once again, just like the other comparisons, look out for Claptrap. He will give you a little bit of an indication which one's going to get there first. Already the crucial P5 Plus seemingly seems to be ahead. All of these have been kicked off from their same screen on a frame comparison, so don't worry, they are all starting at the same time. Any delays have happened during the course of the loading throughout, depending on the SSD. Also, you may hear the fan from my laptop in the background. I'm running multiple screens right now, so it will get things a little hot. I apologise if that gets picked up on the mic. But for now, let's see which one loads in first. It's going to be incredibly tight. And for now, we can see that, yep, the crucial P5 comfortably took that. I've mentioned it in other videos, and I'll mention it again. We will be doing frame-by-frame analysis at the end. But for now, it's another Borderlands 3 load test. This is title screen to the world of Pandora, exactly the same save spot there. Now, we're loading in right now. Let's see who's going to take the lead here. And I think that was the PNY, perhaps the Crucial in a close second. But for now, let's go into Jedi Fallen Order World Test from the title screen. Again, one of the dullest load screens. I'm sick of watching this load screen, if I'm honest. This is loading directly into the game from the main title screen. We're loading in right now. Very dull, black screen there, takes forever. But we should be loading in very shortly. And yeah, I think the PNY... possibly the Sprint Rocket took that one. Remember, all of these SSDs are less than the recommended spec, so that's where it gets interesting. In the Rays of Light World Test now, we're moving in. This is a game that is by no means optimized. I know there was a slight delay there on the capture, but don't worry, they've all gone in, and they've all gone in pretty much the same time. This game tends to always seem to get a tie of all of them loading at the same time, but we'll check it later in the frame-by-frame analysis. Carrying on outside of the world, we can go back into our next game, which is of course Subnautica Creative Mode. All of them loading there on screen together, so they're all going to load in exactly the same time, same option, select, everything's running parallel. It's a little small for me, I can't see the asset loading down the bottom left of each screen, but I know you guys can. We're just looking at which one loads in first. So we're seeing it here, and tick tock, tick tock. What are we looking at there? Yep, definitely the Firecuda 520 by a comfortable margin there. Possibly a third, maybe even half a second took the lead as we make our way into Oddworld Soulstorm, loading into this 2.5D game. Another game that tends to tie a lot of games in loading. It doesn't really optimize the NVMe's as much as you would expect. Let's have a look, and that might be a tie between the Rocket and the Crucial P5. We'll have to check in the frame analysis, but that seemed pretty tight to me to the left-hand side of the screen. So let's go into Hitman 3. This is a world test into Dartmoor from the title screen here. And again, not title screen, a level select screen there. It feels again like the left-hand side of the screen kicked in. Definitely the PNY was last, that much I did see. This might have even been a three-way tie, to be honest, between the Crucial, Firecuda and Rocket, but we'll make our way out of this and into our next test. This is going to be the loading of Terminator. This is quite a long load time, it should be said. With the long load time on Terminator Resistance here, is because we include the opening cinematic. The reason we do that is some games still utilize that loading of a pre-made FMV. Let's have a look. Yep, I think it's down to the Crucial or the PNY. This time the Crucial is absolutely killing it today. We've only got I think 3 games left. I think the Crucial may have already won this, but now the rest of them are just battling for second place. But again, we include this cinematic because a lot of the time, even if you skip it, the assets aren't quite ready. And some games are loading this big chunky stored high-res FMV, and it can actually be affected by the sequential read of the drive for such a chunky bit of data. So now we're going to load in and see which one's carrying on. But yes, the Crucial and the PNY, I think that was probably a comfortable draw between the Crucial and the PNY. I know these are small differences, but again, we'll go through that at the end of the video. No Man's Sky load world test. You could ignore the drop in frame rate when the No Man's Sky logo appears. That's fairly standard for all versions of this game, regardless of console or SSD. Loading in to see which one's quicker. Let's see if Crucial and PNY are going to continue to rule the roost today. But let's have a little look as we make our way into the game. Yeah, I think the PNY comfortably took that by quite a large margin. Again, this is another example of an SSD that was kind of having that drop out of the sky problem we mentioned in other videos. So we'll come out of it there. We're going into our second to last test, Red Dead Redemption 2. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, a long old load time for this huge, I think it's 110 gigabyte game currently with all the updates. And again, all of these seem to be loading largely parallel. We've got a slight drop there in capture, but again, nothing dropped in the frame rate, nothing dropped in the background there. And again, this is going to be quite a small difference, as we will find in a lot of these SSDs, which we will cover on later on. what we're looking for here is which one introduces into the in-game world with controllable assets. So again, we're going to see a white splash as the daylight kicks in and we're loading into black water. That might be a tie between the Crucial and the PNY, but we won't know until we see the frame-by-frame analysis. We've only got the one game left. I mean, again, the rocket there is taking ages to load. I'm very disappointed in the load time of the rocket there, but we'll have to, again, wait till the end. But again, the rocket really let itself down there. And now in Dead by Daylight, this is the world load test. And again, this is a game that looks, as you see on that screen, like they're not all loading at the same time. All of them were kicked off with holding X at the title at exactly the same frame-by-frame check. It all comes down to how the game handles the loading of the intermittent screens each time, and that is where those delays have appeared. And I think the rocket is falling behind once again, but the PNY took that. So I feel, based on those points, that the Crucial took it, but the PNY might be quite close. So let's have a look at the results as we go through the frame-by-frame analysis of each drive. All of these are going to be, some of them are as little as that 2 or 3 frames difference between them. And if it's a tie, both SSDs or all 4 SSDs, whichever way the tie goes, all get a point. So in Borderlands, as we mentioned, the Crucial took it by a comfortable margin. Again, the PNY was just behind, and you're going to hear that quite a lot in this score roundup. But as we go into the next one, again, the Crucial and the PNY both get a point each. Again, it looks like the Crucial isn't loaded in. It's because that game, it was on the night cycle. So again, both games loaded in the same. Again, Crucial P5 and PNY draw a point each once again. So again, can't argue with that. They've both got onto the board exactly the same time. Once again, the rays of the light, all 4 loading at exactly the same time. So all 4 get a point. We make our way into, I believe, Oddworld. No, it wasn't. It was Subnautica. And in Subnautica, the Seagate Firecuda finally getting its own point and not just sharing the board with those shared points there. And then in Oddworld, everyone but the PNY got a point there. So again, only the PNY didn't load in as fast as the others. But the Brent rocket finally getting its own solitary point there with Hitman 3. But that really was by like 2 or 3 frames. It was so small in terms of Terminator. And again, you're going to hear this a lot in the closing statements. Crucial and PNY, complete draw, loading at exactly the same time. Again, on No Man's Sky, the PNY took it there. And again, you can just make out the Crucial. So you'll see that reflected on the points as well. And again, Red Dead Redemption 2 could not get a frame difference between them. The frame before this was a black screen. So again, Crucial, PNY sharing the points. And finally, at the end there, the PNY getting the last point. So incredibly close there between the Crucial P5 Plus and the PNY XLR8 CS3040. All of these kind of on the cusp drives. As you can see, the Crucial just took it by 1 point. And again, a lot of those points for both of them were shared points. And the Brent and the Firecuda only got 1 clear individual point each. Now, of course, all of the difference between these SSDs is literally just fractions of a second. So this shouldn't mark as a negative against all of these drives. However, do bear in mind that all of these drives are either rated less than the recommended minimum spec or are rated so close as to be slightly disconcerting, when you could spend a little bit more and get a better drive. Do I recommend these 4 drives? Probably not over other SSDs that are out there right now that are compatible. But nonetheless, if you're looking for a budget option with more capacity, these are a better choice than QLC NAS SSDs. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, click like if you want to learn more or see the rest of the face-offs as they go live in the next few days. Click subscribe and click the bell to be notified. And of course, all of the SSDs I've talked about today are linked in the comments, along with a bunch of recommended heatsinks. Very, very important you get hold of those, and other guides so you can get the right SSD storage for your PS5 system. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.